Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of It's Always Stockholm in Los Angeles. My name is Nate Harold.
His name is Nate Harold.
And I'm joined by the sweetest curmudgeon, Will Noon.
I do have a beard. It's true.
Today, we're going, to quote my friend Will, less talk, more talk. We're just getting right into it. Because I have a date with a boat out on the archipelago tomorrow, so...
We got fucking Darwin over here.
Today we are talking about... Whoops, hang on.
I think we're talking about Season 4, Episode 8. Paddy's Pub gets a terrible review by Lyle Corman in the local newspaper, and it upsets them, so they kidnap him. That was the working title on set.
Right. The actual title is Paddy's Pub, the Worst Bar in Philadelphia, written by Scott Martyr, Rob Russell, and David Hornsby, a.k.a. Rickety Cricket, directed by our good friend Matt Shackman.
The Shack is back.
I think Matt Shackman directed, WandaVision and Game of Thrones.
Whoa.
Yeah. For some reason I thought he did Loki, but I think it's WandaVision that I was thinking of.
Very popular with the kids these days. Yeah, just in some bizarre, fucked up, stupid scenario in which anyone listening to this has not seen this specific episode, we will tell you what happens. So we open with Dennis trying to impress the gang with his new flat screen TV that he bought for Paddy's. Charlie's not impressed. And Mac interrupts them to alert the gang that Paddy's just received a review in the local paper. The gang gathers around in excitement as Mac reads a scathing review and declares Paddy's the worst bar in Philadelphia.
In an attempt to win him over, the gang, minus Mac, head to see the writer, Lyle Corman, in his office. Their brief attempts to request a second chance and prove they are not white trash or classless bores fails miserably as the encounter descends into legal threats, light hammer smashing, and Dennis spitting in Corman's mug.
The next day, Dennis has added a Blu-ray player to the flat screen TV, but unfortunately they have nowhere to put it, so it just kind of hangs down, looking, as Dee describes it, very white trash. She's a little triggered from the review. Charlie interrupts this time with the news that he was angry at Corman and a little bit drunk, so he followed him home and forced him into the trunk of his own car. The gang is shocked by this and a little upset, but they decide to get him into the bar so they can figure it out. Meanwhile, Charlie tapes him to a chair in the back office while Mac tries to defuse the situation and cool everyone off. Then Corman notifies them after he's been taped up that he has to pee.
Dennis and Dee head to Corman's apartment to clean up any loose ends, but realize they are in the wrong apartment when Mayhar walks in. Meanwhile, in Paddy's bathroom, Mac is trying to convince Corman that he's a good bouncer. Unable to find more tape in the sprawling basement, Charlie returns and they now have to help Corman pee without untaping him.
After they go through that the bathroom situation, Dennis and Dee arrive, much like Charlie did originally, and announce that they did something, a.k.a. kidnapped Corman's neighbor, who is now in the trunk of Corman's car. After Charlie locks the keys in the trunk with Mayhar, Charlie stays to break into the car and open the trunk, while Mac goes after Mayhar's cat, who is diabetic. Back in the bar, Dee and Dennis check in on Corman, who's supposed to be writing that new review. But as Dennis finds out, it turns out it's a little heavy on the kidnapping part.
Mac returns with the wrong cat. Charlie gets Mayhar out. The situation is spinning out of control. The gang decides to bribe Mayhar with Dennis's new TV/Blu-ray setup, and he agrees to take Corman's cat back to the apartment building. They then cut a deal with Corman and agree to let him go, but Charlie smashes a bottle over his head to force his amnesia plan. The gang gets their second review, which vaguely describes Corman's experience, and decides that pressing charges and sending the gang to jail would be too easy a punishment, and they deserve to be tortured with each other at Paddy's instead.
I felt like this episode wasn't really, line heavy, if that makes sense.
I'm with you, yeah. There were some great deliveries of lines.
Yeah. There's great acting, mostly Charlie and Dee. But, yeah, usually I pick lines that I like, that I want to quote to people and, bug people that don't know what I'm quoting. But, yeah, in this one, it was more the chaos of the writing, and the situation. Mm-hmm. It just kept building and building.
Yeah. Their poor decisions were, snowballing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's less about the dialogue, but there's a lot of delivery that's done in a very funny way in this episode. Yeah, this episode doesn't have Frank,
Right.
which they can function without him. It's not the same, but this episode it felt like okay that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And we get the classic alliance of the Reynolds twins
Mm-hmm.
and Mac and Charlie. Kind of reminded me of Charlie and Mac White Trash a little bit, because there's a lot of references to being white trash, and
Yep.
those two teamed up kind of bring that out of each other.
Yeah, there's very little. I mean, Dennis has the evilness, but he also has like the voice of reason. Sometimes not voice of reason, but I guess he's like faux classy.
Right.
Whereas D is the voice of reason in most situations. So Mac and Charlie are like two little kids, like two psychotic little kids running around. Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you get them together and let them up to their own devices, although I think Mac does try to rein in Charlie.
He does. Well, he's like Swayze in Roadhouse in this episode. He's like a cooler.
While danger may linger, I'm the level-headed bouncer that keeps violence in check, like Swayze in Roadhouse.
Very much. His cooling process.
Yeah, I mean, like Mac and Charlie have the Christmas traditions of throwing rocks at trains. What's the pool called? Is it that diving pool? Is that where they go in Mac and Charlie White Trash? Isn't that what it's called? They're cleaning out that pool.
Right. I didn't know.
It's all deep end.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, why would it be called a diving pool? It's just a pool. But no, it's all deep end. Yeah, that's why they can't get out.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny, but like, as we were saying, the lines aren't really there, but the deliveries. One of my favorite parts is when Charlie first tapes up Corman and then goes to leave, I guess to look for more tape in the basement.
Yeah.
And he says,
I'm sorry I yelled at you, Mr. Corman.
And then he mouths, I'm going to kill you.
Right.
And makes the throat slitting.
I saw that! You're out of here, bro! You're out of here!
I guess it's a line, but it was unverbal.
Yes. Specifically, what I was thinking of when we were talking about like the delivery being funny in this episode is there's so much condescension and like patronizing, specifically of Corman.
Oh, yeah.
Dee and Dennis just being like all like,
there he is, our little typer. Tap, tap, tap it away.
Don't mean to disturb you.
When they walk into his office.
yeah. And then
They're
Charlie's
terrible.
like, keeps calling him Mr. Man, Mr. Rider Man. Like they're all talking to Corman like that.
Well, here's the thing. Unfortunately, I've never seen it, but have you seen Misery?
I have. Yeah.
Apparently, that's the reference.
Yeah. Kathy Bates in Misery.
I know that, Mr. Man.
Right, Mr. Man.
Yeah. But it's all condescension.
People basically call them white trash, and then they try not to be white trash, but they're really just reinforcing it.
Right.
I feel like the gang is pretty good at that.
Right. Dennis and Dee arriving to Corman's office wearing like nice clothes and being very polite, and then ending with Dennis spitting in his mug is like the perfect example of that.
Yeah, that just seems kind of like their MO. When, the way he describes Dee in that first review.
When I ordered a glass of wine, not only did the surly white trash waitress refuse to make it, but she proceeded to call me a word that I cannot print in this paper.
Surly.
And then he asks for a Chardonnay, and then she goes, okay, yeah, I'll get that. And they're trying to be nice, but they just can't help it. And she comes back with scotch.
Well, first she says, "Should I come back with
some
a
lipstick?"
And Dennis's reaction.
Boom! You got faced again, Corman.
They're trying so hard to not be dicks, but they can't help it.
Right. I mean, it's more like I would say condescension,
Yeah.
Also, what is Dennis's face thing?
You got faced?
You got faced. I feel like he does that a lot, but he does it twice in this episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just something that he thought was funny and he said it. But the sequence of Charlie hitting the clock, "You're out of time, bitch."
You're all out of time, bitch!
Dennis ringing the bell, "You got faced."
You just got faced.
Dee says, "This just in, poo-poo pants. People don't read newspapers anymore."
This just in, poo-poo pants. People don't read newspapers anymore.
And then the spitting in the mug.
Oh. How's that for class?
Right. It's just like you said, it's a sequence. It's like a 1, 2, 3 sort of combo.
This episode reminded me, I'll just throw in a little anecdote because I feel like it's been a while since I've talked about being on fire or being in rehab and stuff like that. My roommate in college was the editor of the university newspaper, and she asked me if I would write a music review column, and I did not want to. but I can't remember. I don't remember how I got talked into doing it, but I agreed to do it. It's I write one thing a week. So unfortunately, I also had to review local artists' records.
Oof.
And there was this, I won't name them, but also I can't remember their name. So it's like, whatever.
You can't name them.
I literally can't name them. It was a like funk rap rock band that was terrible then. And I bet if you listen to it now, it would be unlistenable. Anyways, I tried to give them an F-. And my editor said, the lowest I'm going to let you go is a D-. So I was like, okay,
Right.
D-. And just like, I mean, I was being very honest. I hated it. It sucked. And I just went to town. You know, I gave them a terrible review. And keep in mind, I'm also in the music scene in this town.
And
So
there's not that many people. You go to college. They go to college there. Like,
Should I have lied about this and said I like this horrible band?
maybe you should have passed and been like, I don't want to publicly bash
couldn't.
these.
I remember specifically trying to pass on any local reviews because of the conflict of interest.
You were writing
But-
one thing a week. You couldn't have picked a different band and kicked it down the can.
No,
like, kicked the can down
they
the road.
wanted maybe they had that band had a publicist who worked at the paper and was like, you guys should review. I don't remember specifics. Anyways, I gave them a terrible review. I gave them the lowest grade possible, and they happened to also have like an early online fan base. Fan club specifically. It was more just like a message board. Anyways, I started getting pizzas delivered to my house, and then we eventually had to file a police report because they posted my address on their like message board.
Right.
And so we had to call the cops, and they had to take it down.
That's crazy. And these pizzas were being delivered to your editor's house as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So she was very down with filing a police report. But yeah, something on the message board about them, like they posted my address and they'd be like, yeah, it'd be really easy to hide right on the corner of that street.
And wait for him.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. I mean, nothing happened, and I don't think anything was going to happen.
Right.
And it was like, you know, even though Lawrence is like, what, maybe 80, 100,000 people, there were like separate music scenes. So I didn't know any of these people personally or anything like that.
Yeah. So for anyone listening that wasn't born a long, long time ago, ordering a pizza to someone's house was a prank at the time because you didn't pay for it until the pizza showed up.
Right.
So nowadays, I feel like that might be a little lost as a prank because someone would be like, oh, someone just sent me pizza?
Someone
Thank
just
you.
bought me a pizza. Yeah.
Right. I heard that happen a lot on like dating apps. Girls would just be like, send me a pizza.
Oh, yeah. Right.
They were like using dating apps to get free pizza. But yeah, so just so you know, back in the day, you could order a pizza to some address, and then they would show up with the pizza and then force you to pay it. Okay, so here's the situation. You are hanging out on a Tuesday afternoon, evening, whatever. A guy shows up with 2 large pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't order it.
Right.
These people were pranking you.
Yeah.
Did you say, sorry, go away? Or are you like, well, fuck it, pizza, okay,
I don't remember exactly what happened. I'm pretty sure, knowing me, I would have said I didn't order this, and like do everything I could to not pay for it.
Right.
'Cause also, I was vegan, so there was no way I was gonna.
Right. Okay.
Like
that makes sense.
Want it or like be like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Also, do you think like was it 1 or 2 pizzas, or was it one of those like here's 10 pizzas?
No, it was pretty small time. It was. I remember a guy holding 2 pizzas. That's my most clear memory.
Interesting. I thought that story was going to go in a different direction when you said at the time the band was terrible, and I thought this was going to be like, and it turns out it's Imagine Dragons.
No, I meant like if it sounded like shit when that kind of music was popular, I can only imagine how shitty it would sound now.
Right. I don't know, man. I recently watched the first 3 Fast and Furious movies because I had never seen any of them, and there's a bit of I mean, obviously there was like a mainstream cult classic vibe to it. Mm-hmm. Like they were very popular and people love them.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's also like people that I know that are like sort of half sarcastic, half genuine, saying like, no, they're actually super fun.
There's an ironic fan base.
But like an ironic, unironic, like John Wick. I feel like more than one people have been like,
well, John Wick fucking rules.
Well,
There's
that's what
no
I'm
doubt
saying.
about that. There's no one's disputing that.
I feel like there's a middle ground of people who are like, no. Like, there's it's popular movie. Like, do you think Lyle Corman would love John Wick?
Yeah, I could see him liking it.
Come on.
It's action for action's sake. The plot is razor thin.
That's what I'm saying, is that I think Lyle Corman is the person it would be lost on. Yes, the mainstream.
Of course, I agree with you.
It would be popular.
I was playing devil's advocate.
The people down here. Anyway, so I feel like I've heard that about the Fast and the Furious, kind of. Anyway.
John Wick is 10 million times more enjoyable than... I've only seen... I think I saw the first Fast and Furious.
The point is, I watched the first 3 recently, and the true point is, I forgot why I brought this up. We've been arguing about it long enough that I forgot where it started.
You recently watched the first 3.
Oh, I think that's where it was. Okay, so I'm not sure it was Fred Durst, but it must have been something like that. But it was also specifically Kid Rock, Ball with the Ball.
Ball with the
that
Ball.
One. And as I was watching the scene, as I was listening to the song, I was like, you know what? I'm into it. This song is pretty fun. It's a pretty good song. So maybe...
I don't think this band was on the same technical / recording level quality plane as Kid Rock, Ball with the Ball was.
Okay.
I remember it sounding like dog shit.
We have to go back and find out who this band is and see if they're still on MySpace.
You want to talk about some of your favorite moments from this episode?
It's when Charlie smashes, after they agree to like let him go and he won't press charges, Charlie smashes him over the head with the bottle anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, well, I didn't like the guy. He was rubbing me the wrong way. And then he's like, all right, I guess I'll go get yesterday's newspaper. And then he flicks a piece of glass off Corman's shoulder. That's the moment. Oh my God. You didn't see it?
No.
Oh, he's like, well,
amazing.
It's just a very prim and proper, like the kind of movement you do when you want to like de-escalate the fact that you just smashed someone over the head with a bottle.
When they're reading the review that Corman wrote about the bar, it sounds to me like they're reading someone reviewing the show.
Oh, yeah.
I was forced to listen to the 3 classless bores who call themselves the owners get drunk and yell over each other all night.
Classless bores? I am not a classless...
This is definitely a thinly veiled reference. Absolutely. I mean, in general, it's kind of like, okay, but he gets to the part where the 3 self-proclaimed owners just yell over each other, the classless bores.
He was probably like paraphrasing like a TV Guide review from 2006 or something like that.
100%. Because most people, I think in general, like didn't know the show existed for a few years.
Right.
So the only people watching it would have been some lunatic, crazy fans and TV critics who had to review it because how many new shows come out? Like, they gotta write shit for an entire year,
I also just wanted to briefly touch on Corman.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk.
Yeah, played by Fisher Stevens, whose real name is Stephen Fisher.
Wait, what? I missed that.
Fisher Stevens is the name of the actor. His birth name is Stephen Fisher. That is brilliant for a stage name.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I think Fisher Stevens is a very cool name.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to start calling you Harry Nathan.
But yeah, seeing him in this was cool because it's like they don't often get well-known guest actors. A lot of times it's like people you've never seen, and then you see them in other stuff. But this was like, Fisher Stevens is kind of like a big deal. Right.
And I couldn't figure out where I knew him from. But, I mean, other than like a million things.
Short Circuit, right? That's the big one.
Yeah. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's.
Did you go back and watch any clips from that?
I already knew. I'm familiar with Fisher Stevens, so I knew that there was a interesting casting choice done in Short Circuit.
Oh my Lord! I went back and watched Ben Jubatiah, whatever his character is, like a highlights clip for like 4 minutes on YouTube today, and it is brutal.
Yeah, I'll put some quotes in there. It is rough.
Girlie, come quick, girlie, danger. Come on, you. Oh, my God.
What planet is this guy from?
Oh, you are a girl, right?
Yes, as far as I know.
But it's also like at the time and without knowing it, I don't know, like, I'm sure there are, like, I don't know, who's like an Indian character from a show?
Mayhar.
True. Good call. That's actually funny. I didn't even think about it. But he may not have that accent in real life. Like, he may be playing a caricature of himself. Yeah. So when Stephen Fisher, plays this Indian character in Short Circuit, I don't know if he's playing up the caricature as much or more so or whatever than someone who was actually Indian would have.
So yeah, that leads me to a question that I'd love to ask you. Do you think that you think Mayhar is Mayhar in this episode because of that? Because of Fisher Stevens playing an Indian character? You think this is like a reference?
This Mayhar could be some cosmic retribution. Mm-hmm. I mean, him stealing the lead role in a fucking huge movie from someone of Indian descent, versus a small side cameo appearance in Always Sunny.
Well, there's multiple reasons why I believe that it is some sort of a reference to that, is because Fisher Stevens was also in a show called Early Edition.
What would you do if you got tomorrow's news today?
Early Edition is a show about a guy who gets the newspaper a day early.
Oh, cool.
So what he chooses to do with that information, he can like try to, I don't know, stop a crime or when he really just should be betting on horses, but whatever. Anyways, Fisher Stevens.
Do they have horse race results in the newspaper?
Come on.
Moving on.
Come on. Yeah, so Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights he plays Early Edition, Mr. Early Edition.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
Yeah, Fisher Stevens is in that show, and then there's Charlie says it twice that he's going to grab yesterday's newspaper. In this show, which 100% is a reference to that show.
I'll go get yesterday's newspaper.
Even though it's backwards, like still, he says it twice. I mean, come on.
We get yesterday's newspaper, we put it on their front doorstep, they wake up thinking it was all a dream.
I mean, that is his amnesia plan. But, so your premise possibly is that they kind of booked him and had a vague idea of it, or he agreed to do this show, and they kind of like fleshed out the episode around him?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Because, like I said earlier, like the guest stars on this show are usually people you've never seen or like have only done a few things, but this is by far the biggest guest actor they've had.
Well, I would maybe beg to disagree.
Okay.
The old woman that I don't think had any speaking lines is like a legendary anime voice actor.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
That chick was bonkers.
But you know what I mean. Like,
I do.
I mean, wasn't Short Circuit like a huge franchise?
Johnny Five. That was huge for me.
Fisher Stevens has an Oscar now. Like, he's a director and a producer. And the last thing on Fisher Stevens is that he was in Lost, and I think around this exact same time that he was on Always Sunny.
Oh yeah, who was he on Lost? I remember this.
He was on the ship. He was like the communications guy on the ship that was not Penny's boat, Minkowski.
Right.
Anyways, that's my tirade on
Deep
Fisher
Dive.
Stevens.
Deep Dive.
With Nate Harold, Stephen Fisher. I do like how Dee and Dennis come in with the same line that Charlie uses when they kidnap Mayhar.
You got a problem.
We did something.
Again, comparing this to Mac and Charlie White Trash, when they're trying to set up the Blu-ray player.
Where are we going to put it? We need like a flat surface.
Here we go. You know what? We'll dangle it.
Oh, yeah, that looks better. We're not dangling anything. That's very white trash.
I mean, I think we've all been there, right? When
Yes,
you're like connecting one thing to another, and you're like, okay, so this is only 2 feet long. This cable, do I have to order a 6-foot cable, and then you like slowly get it into position, and you're like, I think it'll hold.
Well, looks
like
pretty
this
solid.
Cable, just wrap it over here, and it's not going anywhere.
Another standout scene that is probably on everyone's mind thinking of this episode, maybe you recently rewatched it, is Charlie eating a urinal cake.
In fact, it's so clean, I would say you could eat out of these urinals.
No, you absolutely cannot eat out of these urinals.
Oh, really? What's this?
Charlie, don't. Oh my God, dude.
Oh, gee.
As men who have been around lots of urinal cakes in our time, have you ever wondered what it tastes like.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. And then sometimes
we all have.
And then sometimes they have the urinal cakes in like little plastic cages.
Yes.
And I think I can't get to that one.
Yeah.
It's trapped. Usually they're just like pink little hockey pucks of deliciousness. I wonder what this one is, though. When Charlie goes in for it, it's a flat blue disc.
Yeah, maybe it's like a rice cake or something like that.
It looks thinner and wider to me than a rice cake, and it's blue, but I guess the sound and texture maybe it has a crunch.
Well, I think the sound is ADR. I think the sound is a Foley effect because the crunch is very loud.
Yeah. I also, speaking of that, I like when Mac's doing the pool cue.
Yeah.
He's like, I would pop in, but I would use my smarts to assess the situation, look for anything to my advantage. And when he throws it behind him, there's a significant crashing sound.
Yeah. Another Charlie moment that I loved was when he locked the keys in the trunk when they have Mayhar.
Hey, there's another bit of an issue, which is that I locked the keys in the trunk just now. What? Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my God. Well, I didn't want to bring that up.
God damn it, Charlie!
Did you see any of that happen?
No.
Okay.
Like, how did he even get the keys? That was Dee and Dennis.
In my opinion, they would have been in the trunk, or rather in the keyhole for the trunk. So
Exactly.
if he was the one to close it, it's such a strange thing. He would have had to take the keys out and throw them in and then close it.
Yeah, regardless. Suspend your disbelief, and his the way he lets the gang know about it is really wonderful because he didn't want to like bring down the mood, any lower than it already was.
Right. They had a lot going on. Why did they even close it?
Probably because there was a person in their trunk and they were on the street.
They've already done this once today.
Yeah,
They
that's
could have
true.
just.
What would you do? Would you leave the trunk open with a person that's all bound up in the back?
No, same thing with Corman. If the plan is to like get them into the bar and figure it out, I would have gotten them into the bar and like if you're going to bring them in, like.
You would have gone down and bought an expensive Oriental rug, rolled them up, and then taken the rug in.
Well, again, they had the experience of not doing that with Corman, so they would have known that
Right.
wasn't a viable option because
Right.
they are very expensive.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's probably a great deal of panic going on. I'm not going to try to get inside the mind of a kidnapper.
What am I? I don't know enough about kidnapping to dispute it.
Let's talk about the Charlie Mack scene, trying to figure out how to get Mayhar out of the trunk.
Oh, yeah. So they discuss they're trying to, jimmy it open or like whatever. Charlie's got the coat hanger trying to pop the lock. Mac is just pulling at the handle, I guess.
Right.
I don't know if that's...
To each his own.
And then they decide to break the window. I don't know why Mac doesn't want to, but Mac says if they were going to do it, he would just do a roundhouse kick. That's all. And Charlie says, okay, that'll never work. Yeah, let's see you do it.
Charlie, if we were going to smash the window, I would simply do it with a roundhouse kick. Well, come on, you're not going to be able to break this window with a roundhouse kick. Let's get serious here.
Which, again, is one of my favorite concepts in the show when everyone, just the way that Mac believes in his karate abilities and no one else does.
Right.
It's just a fun concept when they roll their eyes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Mac tries the roundhouse kick, breaks the mirror instead of the window.
It's a pretty good kick at the mirror, too. I was kind of impressed.
Yeah, it's spot on because we know he was trying to hit the mirror as an actor.
Right.
Anyway, so my favorite part about this is Mac makes excuses, blah, 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 and then he says he's going to go get Mayhar's cat because it's diabetic and it needs an insulin shot. So as he's leaving, I think Charlie says...
Take one karate class if you're so into karate,
And that's one of my favorite lines because it was
I agree.
true.
Yeah. I mean, he talks about it all the time. It seems like he's super into it.
Yeah, twice in this episode have we seen him like do some kind of karate move and bust out his chops, yet he's never taken a class.
Which climaxes with Country Mac. We'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
But the line I was thinking of, first of all, yes, the take one karate class if you're so into karate line is amazing. But also right before that, when Mac's like, I'll just do a roundhouse kick and break the window, and Charlie's like, you can't be serious. And then it does the like Asian flute sound.
Charlie, I've never been more serious about anything in my entire life.
I love the scene with the cat mix-up when the two kidnapped neighbors come in contact with each other. First off, Mac comes in with this like orange cat, does not want to be held at all. seemingly.
Right.
He's
Well,
freaking out.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about it, and as like thinking about the cat acting,
Yeah,
like animal actors have got to be. Is that what you would call them?
sure.
Anyway, it's got to be tough to deal with animals in film and TV, but
Totally.
this one, I think it almost doesn't like to be like put down.
Oh, is that what it was?
Because I think when he's holding it, because if a cat wants to get away, it's pretty easy
gonna
for a
get
cat
away. Yeah.
to get away. Like they fold into like a ball of razor blades.
Right.
So, but it's like when he's like pulling it off of himself, it's clawing at him, and it's like, it's that kind of thing. It's funny. It's like almost like too clingy, but obviously Mac doesn't want that, and it's a pretty good interaction.
Well, specifically, I was thinking of when Mac enters with the cat, he's looking on the floor and says, "Have you guys seen any hypodermic needles?" Which is just like a testament to his dangerous environment that he's cultivated.
Right.
In Paddy's.
Right, the dangerous environment that he would save you from. But my question is, in that scenario, did he bring the insulin shot and lose it, or was he just thinking he would find one and put the insulin in it?
That is a great question.
Wait.
No, well, we know the answer because he has the wrong cat. So he
wrong cat, so he definitely
doesn't
didn't.
Definitely has no insulin.
If he picked up a hypodermic needle from Corman's apartment, it probably wouldn't have been insulin.
Right.
Okay, so he is thinking that he will just find a hypodermic needle at Paddy's randomly, and then maybe he'll fill it with insulin.
Yeah, right. The next step we're not so sure about.
Well, I guess we're halfway there. If you have the needle,
one step at a time, task at hand. So then now we get to Charlie's amnesia plan, which is just right off the bat incredible because Charlie like runs into the group conversation and is like, I got it.
Ready? Here's the plan. I've been thinking about this. Okay, we give them amnesia. It's so easy. Here's how you do it. You smash them both over the head with a bottle. They go down like a ton of bricks, okay? Then we drag them back to their apartments. We put them in their beds, We set their clocks back.
It's a pretty fleshed out plan. It's not going to work, but, he has the whole concept.
He actually has a plan. No one else has a plan.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess he got him into the whole situation. So, whatever. He's trying something. Like he's seen movies and he knows that getting hit over the head with a bottle gives you amnesia. And this is where, of course, the reference to early edition with Fisher Stevens. Charlie just seems like he hates Corman. Like throughout this entire episode,
he rubs him the wrong way for sure.
I think the ending of this episode is one of the cleanest, best Always Sunny endings because we kind of talked about that last episode. Mm-hmm. The gang singing Boys to Men.
Right.
Amazing.
Then Ernie coming in.
Ernie having a line, maybe his only line?
Yeah, I don't know. That might be it.
But specifically, I'm thinking of when they're reading the second review and they're like, oh, okay, well, at least they didn't mention our names. And then like a beat.
But I'm a little irritated that he didn't mention
You feel like he would mention our name, right?
I am incredibly annoyed that he didn't mention my name.
I wish I could live with this, but I can't.
It's a story about us.
I feel like we got to go talk to him again.
I loved it.
Seems like he should have mentioned their names. The article was about them.
Right. It's such a clean, funny, classic Always Sunny. Where like we don't see how this is resolved. We can assume.
Here's the thing. I didn't love that ending.
You didn't? Interesting. Okay.
I did. It seemed a little too, I guess, too obvious that they were going to go back again and start it all up. I mean, I guess that's very in character of them. Because they keep doing things and don't realize that it's going to backfire.
Yeah, the whole point of the show is that they don't learn their lesson ever, which is exactly what happens.
So again, it's in character, but it seemed a little, I don't know.
Well, agree to disagree.
Disagree to agree. Well, do you want to give this episode a grade?
I'm going to give this one a B+. No Frank. Again, comparing it to other episodes in season 4, not the top. I love Fisher Stevens, but yeah, I mean, it's a fine episode.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an A.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that it lacked Frank, obviously, and it lacked some of the, I don't know, a certain je ne sais quoi. that Sonny sometimes has. But the writing and the storyline to me was very fun. The sort of chaos that it spirals into.
I agree.
So overall, I think it's a great watch.
If you would like to follow us on Instagram and get the first glimpse at our red hot memes, you can follow us at always_Stockholm. On Twitter, where sometimes we do stuff, sometimes we don't, at always Stockholm.
And as always, you can write a review, you can rate us, and you can subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
And with that, I'm going to go boating. See you next week.
Bye-bye.